Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today, wherever you are. Good afternoon, good morning. If you'd like to hit the chat button, we're going to be using that today to drop in any questions. Just say hello, maybe where you're joining us from. We finally have some sun here in Boston today, so I hope everyone has some good weather to get out and enjoy. All right. Nice. Looks like lots of different places. All right, Kathy. Great trip. Just kind of give everyone another 2 minutes or so, and then we'll kick things off. Has anyone here been on any Adventure Women trips yet? All right. Nice, a good mix. Well, welcome or welcome back. Awesome. So many different ones. That's great. Oh, we've got a Zion. All right, just another minute here, and then we'll get it going. All right, so I think we can kick it off. So again, welcome everybody. Hope you're all doing well. My colleague Emily, looks like you guys got the hang of chat. So my colleague Emily is in here to help kind of monitor and as questions pop up, handle that. So also keep an eye out for some questions from us. So we'd love some engagement and kind of hop in there and feel free just to ask whatever you want as it comes up, and we'll take questions on the fly, and at the end there'll be time to jump in. So as far as just getting started, um, today's webinar is going to be focusing on prepping for adventure. I have Mandy here, who's our wonderful guide, doubles as an ambassador for us too. She's done many trips, and so I'll get into her introduction next. But for today, we're just going to talk about why preparation is so key. Everything from the physical to the mental, everything in between, with a focus on our high energy and challenging trips. And I'll kind of define those a little bit as we get going. So here we are. So meet Mandy, who I just pointed out. So she is our fearless leader today, hot off of coming back from Peru. So we all appreciate you diving right into this. And Mandy has led here about a dozen trips for Adventure Women, everywhere from Kilimanjaro, Rockies, Utah, everything in between. So she's the star guide for us. And Mandy has a bachelor's in health science. She did some personal training before becoming a guide. And intern guiding trips gets her ability to connect two great passions: fitness, exercise, movement, outdoors. So that's really special when you find that passion. She certainly has. My name is Ali, so I'm in sales here for Adventure Women. I've been with the company for about 2 years. It is also a combination of things I love. I come from a background of admissions in schools. And so I love just kind of guiding people, finding the right fit, as well as outdoors and travel. So I feel fortunate to be here as well. Last year, I went on a trip to Cuba, and this September, I'll be going to southern Italy. So if anyone has any questions about those trips or just trips in general, we're happy to dive in. All right. So part of this is going to be just a brief overview right now of the two kind of categories we have that, again, we're talking about today, and help you kind of see the differences between the two. Um, this is so much about setting expectations. We want to make sure you're on the right adventure for you, to feel like you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, but are also going to have the trip of a lifetime, happily, and enjoy it. So here, just kind of an overview again of what high energy, when we use that term, what that means in Adventure Women. So it's kind of designed more as a balance between the cultural and the hiking pieces. Very inclusive. You're going to still want to train for these. You're going to want to prep for them. So this information is definitely relevant, what we're coming on to. But kind of in these trips, you're going to see more of a balance of, you may have a few hours of hiking, but you may end the day in town with a nice dinner and a place to rest your head. And so we have some examples here of upcoming trips. Switzerland, the southern Italy trip I'm on, that combines hiking the volcanic region, and then also some downtime on the coast there, which is beautiful. England and Ireland, the Rockies, Camino, many more. Just some examples here of what we consider the high energy trips. Um, and then to roll here into challenging, these are going to be more of like a trek experience. So you're going to be on a multi-day adventure. The accommodations may be a little bit more rustic. So you're going to be in maybe tents, huts, tea houses. As my colleague says, it's like eye on the prize for this one. So you're really just about the experience of the trek, of the hike. You may have the cultural experiences on the front end, on the back end, but really the meat of this trip is going to be about the trek, the adventure, the hiking, and the differences between length and all of that stuff we'll get into. And I know Mandy has done a breadth of all of these trips. So I thought it would be helpful to kind of just give a personal viewpoint of these two categories and kind of her experience with each one and the differences, just again to kind of have a visual to prep you on what each one looks like here. So if I want to kick it off to Mandy, if you want to hop in and take it.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Ali.
Yeah, sure.
Welcome everybody. It's fun to work with AdventureWomen and talk a little bit more about these trips. So yeah, high energy is probably my specialty purely because those are what I guide. The Zion trip I do, there's my shout out to Zion, is a high energy trip, as is Moab. And just to reiterate what Ali said, those trips, among some of the others, like the Switzerland, I know there's two different Switzerlands. One's challenging and one is high energy. Um, but those, when you come to Zion or when you do any of those trips, we're doing some hiking, but we're also doing other activities, adventures, cultural experiences, that kind of thing. And then for challenging, I don't guide those, but I have been lucky to be an ambassador for a few of those. Kilimanjaro and Machu Picchu. Those ones are a little more intense. We're getting to that top of the highest mountain in Africa, or we're getting over the Salkantay Pass, which is pretty high. And those are pretty epic in a different way for sure. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. Um, and so really we're gonna kick it off here now that you've got kind of that background information on planning your trip. So we're just start kind of from scratch here. Step one, once you decide like where you think you fit, you speak with us. You start looking kind of. We'll dive into the weeds a little bit more here. But yeah, step one, we can start planning that trip.
So when on the side over here, I have Adventure Women's website opened up. So you guys find your trip and you're like, okay, I want to do the Dolomites or something this year. And you click on it and you start reading and you start reading about your elevation gain. And so you're like, oh man, can I handle that? Can I do that? And so first thing is to kind of look at where you're at right now. One thing I have absolutely loved about Adventure Women and what made me get more involved as an ambassador is I can't think of a better way to experience these than with a group of women who are all in the similar place as you of can I do this? And Adventure Woman gives you that empowering feeling that yes, you can. But preparation is definitely the key. So when you're looking through and you're reading these different itineraries, I think it's really important to see how many days and how many miles and how you feel about that. Make sure you look and see if you're going to be camping or not. That's kind of what puts it up in that challenging as opposed to a high energy trip. Um, and then as it says here on the slide, elevation gain versus altitude. So keep in mind, like some of our trips, like especially the Europe-based ones, not always, but like Dolomites, Mont Blanc, those ones you're not going to be dealing as much with altitude, but you're going to be dealing with a lot more gain or loss on those hikes. And that's something to keep in mind because you want to train appropriately for those. When you do your altitude, that's a whole different beast, right? Because you don't know how your body's going to respond to altitude, and there's only so much training you can do until you're there and in that experience. So that's an important thing to look at and to be prepared for. And then terrain is also something to think about um, because if you're going to be doing a lot of downhill on rocks, that's something you need to make sure that you're capable of and can handle and that you can train for. The Camino is a little different terrain. It's a little bit, it's still walking a lot every day, but it's not like over huge rocks and boulders and down and huge losses and gains. And so those are definitely things you want to be thinking about when you're looking at doing, at signing up for one of the trips. So, yeah, perfect. Physical preparation, training plans. This is your bread and butter. So once you guys have picked a trip, then you need to train for it because if you're trained and ready, you're going to have such a great experience. And with that, there's a lot of different things to keep in mind. You obviously need to be training your cardio, your strength, and using your environment the best way you can. I know a woman who is from the flat state of Iowa who is doing the Dolomites. And so training is a little different for her than for me, who lives in Utah and has all the mountains at my disposal to really work on the elevation gain and loss. So for someone like that, I would say go find your stairs, go find stadium stairs, go find all of that kind of stuff. I think those are like really, really important things to keep in mind and to use. Putting on your backpack that you're going to be using and hiking with that and seeing how it goes. When I did Machu Picchu last year, I had a group of women from Seattle, and they obviously didn't have a lot of altitude experience. And so they had actually a few months before gone somewhere that was a little bit higher to hike and see how it went. And so I think all of those things can be super, super helpful. Um, so yeah, when it comes to training plans, obviously you want to get out there and do what you're going to be doing on your specific trip you've signed up for. So really making sure that you sign up and you train, I think are key components. Perfect. So yeah, when you're practicing, I'm going to be doing the Dolomites here in a few months, heading out in August. And so I have a training plan that I've already have in place for that, and I know that I'm going to slowly start doing harder hikes, more elevation. I think what's equally as important as training to go up is training to go down, because sometimes that can be a little harder than doing going the uphill, especially on our knees and everything like that as we're doing it. So the more that we can get out and hike and do that, the better. Again, looking back at Peru, some of the women were like, hey, I started doing more squats and lifting and doing lunges and stuff like that. And they couldn't believe the difference that made in their body and how much pain they experienced during the trek and the hike. And so getting out there, making sure you're hiking for one, that's number one, but adding some strength components to that is absolutely key to this whole thing. Um, and so as you do that and as you train, make sure that you are taking your gear with you that you're going to use. You don't want to get a brand new backpack and just take it for that hike. You want to make sure you've been using it. You've put in the things you're going to be taking each day when you're hiking. And I would say the number one piece of gear is your shoes. You want to make sure that your shoes you have trained in, you feel comfortable in them, you've done the miles in them to know that they can handle it. So I think that's the most important when it comes to your physical preparation.
That's great. Thank you, Mandy. So key. So next up, we'll kind of jump into the gear piece of it. So we kind of roll right in from the physical prep to exactly what Mandy was saying about testing your gear, footwear, and how important these.
Perfect. Okay. So proper footwear is really important. We're just kind of going to go down this list. So I um, I I strongly believe that proper footwear is a very personal preference. And when I say that, I know AdventureWomen puts on their packing list hiking boots. Um, and for someone who's getting new into it and who's trained in hiking boots, that is absolutely what I would recommend. I prefer trail runner shoes, and I brought a pair. Um, just to kind of give you guys an idea. So these are the shoes that I typically will hike in. These have Gore-Tex, so they're waterproof, which I like. The tread is really important, especially if you're going to be doing terrain that's going to be a lot of up and downhill. But the most important thing is that's what I've trained in and I'm comfortable in. So when you are planning what shoes you want and you go, well, do I want trail runners? Do I want hiking boots? What are you most comfortable in? If you put on hiking boots and you're like, oh, these feel amazing, then that is absolutely what I would tell you to use. Um, I plug in for Harry Potter here. I always tell people with your shoes, you need to have that Harry Potter moment. Like when he got his wand, he knew it was his wand. When you put those shoes on, they should feel comfortable from the get-go. If you're having lots of issues or blisters, or if you tried trail runners and you're like, I don't feel stable enough for my ankles or whatever, then you need to try a boot. But I think that is proper footwear is huge in planning for these trips, and you want to make sure that you have the right one for you. Um, Packs, it kind of depends on which ones you're doing. For your my high energy, like if you were coming to Zion, you just need a day pack that can carry your water, maybe some snacks, maybe a layer or two because you might be shedding layers on or off. For something bigger like Kilimanjaro, you're going to be carrying a bigger pack. And Adventure Woman's great at letting you know what liter size pack you need to carry with so that you can practice and use that before. I think a waist strap is key for all of the backpacks. It really helps take a lot of that pressure off your shoulders and your backs. And then hydration, again, is a little bit more of a personal preference. I use a bladder because when it's right there by my mouth, I feel like I'm way better at drinking my water. If I have it in a bottle, for some reason, it's just a little more inconvenient for me to grab it and to drink it. And so it's personal preference. My husband hates using a bladder because he doesn't like the taste of the plastic in it. But again, this is another thing where get it, try it, use it. And if you're like, oh, I would hate this, then I wouldn't do it anymore. So that's kind of how I would roll with hydration. For poles, hiking poles, we're gonna, again, a personal preference. I think almost every person on Machu Picchu had poles, and I think they were glad that they had them. They can be very, very beneficial, especially going down. On Kilimanjaro, every person had to have poles going down, and you put those in your hands, and you were going down that scree mountain um, to get down from your altitude that you're at pretty quickly. And so poles can be super handy. My typical hiking when I'm in Zion and things, I'm not using poles. Personal preference again. Um, I feel like they kind of get in my way. I'm very big on taking pictures and videos. And so for me, holding poles just isn't as nice. But if you're going to use them, train with them. If you're questioning which kind of like, do I want them? Do I not? Then I would get some and try and just see what you prefer, because I know people who swear by them helping, especially with the downhill on their knees. And then lastly is the layers. Um, it depends on the trip you're doing. Every trip, even Zion, Moab, we are dressed in layers and we're changing constantly throughout the day, putting things on, putting things off, everything like that. Um, so I feel like with the layers, I have a few examples again. Um, Especially for some of these where if you're going to be at a higher altitude, you're going to be cold. Um, so a fleece base layer, like, so I usually will have on like a bra, a tank top, or t-shirts or something like that. And then I'll have like some kind of fleece. This is just a Patagonia simple fleece that I would wear. And then if it's really cold outside, we're talking Kilimanjaro or you're on Machu Picchu and it's going to be way colder, then a warm layer, um, a down layer is super important. So I wear like a down coat. And then I'll have on top of that my waterproof slash wind layer. So this is just something that is waterproof that I can zip over if needed. And then as needed, I can shed those layers, I can put them back on. They are pretty lightweight. So when you're using like a down coat like that, it is going to be pretty lightweight to carry, take off, put back on, and it still keeps you pretty warm. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Mandy. That's super helpful, especially the visuals. And I know for me, poles were a game changer with some tough knees. So going downhill, I didn't know. And then once I grabbed a hold of those, it was super helpful. So appreciate that. And then moving on here, I know it came up in the chat. I saw about safety and kind of emergency situations. So we'll just dive into kind of our roles, how we help with that, and just kind of backtracking to the gear piece. Our service team, when you're booked on a trip, we'll send out the packing list. But like Mandy said, it's personal preference too of what feels right. So we will guide you kind of with what to be prepared for based on guest feedback, based on guide feedback, but absolutely like test everything, try it. It's about being comfortable. And so here we are into our safety and preparedness. Just in case anything happens out there, we take care of you from lots of different angles, including in office with us. We're on call for if anything was to happen. And then out there as well, obviously, you've got a ton of support from guides to ambassadors. So we'll go into kind of how you can lean on us if needed.
Perfect. Yeah, so the protocols, um, like like Ali said, AdventureWomen is really good about, they're the liaison. They're in the office, so they're not out there on the field when if something were to happen. So what's nice about traveling with a company like AdventureWomen is that you have your guides, and I have never been on a I've never been on a trip where the guide is not exceptional and knows exactly what to do in case of an emergency or something happens. They're there to guide you, to lead you, and they have protocols in place um, to help you if you did need to get off the mountain. Like, let's say your altitude sickness or something else happens, which I have had on trips, in which every time it is taken care of wonderfully, no issues, no problems, and everyone, leaves the trip still having a great experience. So I think it's just know that even if you're scared, even if you're worried, even if you get hurt, you're going to be okay because AdventureWomen has all of that in place. If there is an ambassador on your trip, which most of the challenging trips do have that, then the ambassador will be there to assist the guide in whatever needs to happen. It's always going to fall on the guide of that trip to make sure that you are taken care of and everything like that. It says on here, yeah, dedicated support team, and that's so true. no matter what, that it's taken care of. Knowing the signs and symptoms, I think, is really important. But almost what's more important than that is not to be shy. If something is wrong, if you feel something, is happening, go to your guide and let them know, because guaranteed you are not the first person to have this happen, and they know what to do and they'll be able to help watch out for you. So as uncomfortable as it could be to say, I'm having horrible diarrhea, I don't know if I can keep going, those are the kinds of things that you want to be making sure you tell your guide, because they know what to do. So I think that's a really important key piece of that. So
100%. Thanks, Mandy. I know that this is a big question that comes through, especially with these high energy and challenging trips. So you can rest assured of everything that Mandy said, is that the guide and everyone's got you. So I think the honesty piece is key. But yeah, so we got you, and that's what we're here for. So I hope that can put some concerns aside when it comes to that. But of course, always reach out. But I know that's a huge question that we do get. And then moving on here to environmental considerations. So this is something that we feel is just kind of really important, especially for the world right now and what we're leaving behind. And here that's a piece of what we're concerned about as well. So kind of minimizing our impact out there on these treks, on these hikes, and leaving nature to nature, as we found it. So if Mandy, you want to go into a little bit about your experience on these trips, and kind of what that looks like, especially on the Utah trips you lead, if there's any examples there of what we kind of do to minimize that impact, because it is so important for us.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's Utah. People think, oh, it's just sand and red rock. Like there's nothing you really need to worry about. But um, I teach everyone when they come out to Zion or Moab about cryptobiotic soil, which is basically a crust that forms in the desert. It's basically the coral of the desert. And we talk about how important it is that, hey, if you need to go to the bathroom, you got to watch out for the stuff, because it's taken decades to grow. And a lot of people don't even realize that. So I think the nice thing too is when you sign up for an AdventureWomen trip and you go to these places, these guides know how to minimize your impact while you're there, and they'll teach you those things, and you can use that while you're on that trip and then in your future trips and stuff like that. Um, I felt like the Switzerland trip that I did was really good about staying on trail, teaching you that, and I think that's super super important as you're doing the trips. Is we want to be able to enjoy this, but we want to also let it be there for our future generations. And I want my girls to be able to experience the same beautiful things that I get to experience. So, oh, Ali, I don't think they can hear you.
Sorry about that. um, of equal importance as well, as we go through this, is the mental preparation and mindset. So while you're physically getting ready for this out there, feeling good, there could be some tough moments on the trail, and so there's ways that we can kind of stay positive, and keep going. So a bit of mental resilience, as we said here. So especially on these challenging ones, like I said, you're pushing yourself out of a comfort zone here. And so how do you stay focused? How do you stay positive when things get tough?
Yeah. Well, the best way to do it is to sign up for an AdventureWomen trip. And I say that because you are going to be going with other women who are in your same boat, who may come with a friend, may not. Maybe they're, by themselves, which we get plenty of, at least for my Zion trips. You go out there and you meet other women who are trying to do the same tough thing you are, and you are going to feel so much motivation that even when you are struggling, you're going to have these awesome people out there helping you, doing the same thing, pushing you when you're feeling like you can't do more or you're struggling or whatever. And then trust in that training program you followed. If you prepared yourself for the trip and you know that you put in the time, then when it gets hard, you just got to be like, you know what? I can do this. And everyone else on that trip is going to be telling you that. You got this. You can do this. And that's what I love so much about these trips. On our Zion trips and Moab, we go canyoneering. And canyoneering is very scary for someone who's never done it, because basically we're saying, okay, take this rope and you're going to just walk off this cliff backwards, and we got you. You're good. And that's so terrifying for someone who's never done it. But then they do it and they are so empowered. And the group as a whole, as they're going through that moment together, is so like joined forever, because it was such an incredible experience. And that's how I feel tough moments are. Those are the things that make us. Those are the things that we actually look back and remember the most. And we go, man, remember that time on Kilimanjaro when we were sitting up there and, something happened. And those are the things that you remember. And I feel like one reason you signed up for this high energy or challenging trip is because you want to do something hard. And what an empowering thing to do that, and to push yourself in maybe a different way than you ever have. And I love that. That's one thing I love the most about AdventureWomen. So
Awesome. So well said, Mandy. And I know I can attest for Zion for sure. How many people I speak to beforehand that are kind of like, I don't know about the canyoneering piece. Is there an alternate activity? And then come back and like immediately are just like, that was my favorite piece of the trip. Like, absolutely. Same thing you said of just people cheering you on. You can do it. But yeah, I can totally attest to how many people like come back, different people, totally empowered, have done something they never thought they could. So thank you for that. You provide that experience as well. So appreciate that.
yeah.
um, and as we kind of wrap up here, I want to again thank everyone for coming, but we're totally going to take questions and things. And again, thank you, huge thank you to Mandy for really leading this and giving your experience. It's huge. And so we can kind of jump in here. I see the chat has been active, so thank you, Emily, for handling that as well. But yeah, if someone wants to ask any questions, we're here for you. Um, I think there's some experience that we can share as well. I see one thing, Mandy, someone is asking if you could share what you pack in a day pack for like a 10 to 12 mile day of hiking.
Yeah. So my go-to pack that I've taken on a lot of trips is 28-liter pack. And in that one, obviously, like we already talked about, water, snacks, usually a couple of layers. I usually start out in like a tank, a sun hoodie, and like a fleece. I tend to run cold, so I get cold pretty easily. Um, and then besides like the snacks, I always have like a first aid kit, like a basic first aid kit. If I'm guiding, then I have a little bit more as far as first aid goes. Um, I have I typically will have some sort of external battery for my phone, in case I need it for something. I tend to keep a headlamp in my bag just because you don't know. My first aid will also have like an emergency blanket, because I think that's an important thing to have just in case something bad were to happen. Um, and then I usually have a buff, or a gator, whatever you guys call it. Just again, it keeps me warm. I like having it. If it's sandy or something, I can pull it up over my nose, that kind of thing. Sunglasses are a must, and I usually have chums on it to keep it. So if I do take it off, I don't lose them or scratch them. That's super handy to have. So I'll bring some electrolytes as far as snacks goes too. Element or Liquid IV are the ones I tend to like. And yeah, those are some of the, trying to think if there's anything else. I think those are the main things that I tend to carry with me.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And one other one, someone was asking what was the brand of the hiking boot or shoe that you held up?
Oh, these are Nike Pegasus. So you can get Nike Pegasus with or without the Gore-Tex, and I just like the Gore-Tex because I usually am hiking places where there's can be rain or water or stuff like that.
Awesome. Thank you. And let's see if anything else has popped up here. Looks like Emily's been doing an amazing job of tackling as we go. And I
Excellent. I
provided
know I haven't had time to read through them all.
right. That's what I've just been seeing it fire off at the corner of my eye, and it looks awesome. Um, oh, we got one that Mandy, what is the most challenging hike you've ever done?
Ooh. Hmm.
No small question.
Yeah, that is no small question. Probably Kilimanjaro was a pretty challenging hike. And I'd say that's just because the length, it's like, 9 days. And so that's a long time to be out there intense kind of doing this stuff. But absolutely. And Emily said, what's the most rewarding? Kilimanjaro. That is there is nothing like being on top of that mountain and knowing that um, you are on the roof of Africa, as they say. It's pretty amazing. I just did the Inca Trail in Peru, and that was pretty challenging too, but so amazing. So um, those are probably the most challenging hike. Yeah. Thanks, Amanda.
That's awesome. Thank you. And Emily, Emily wants to know where you're headed next.
Well, I am doing my Zion. We have a Zion trip coming up next week. Super excited to get in Zion and be able to do some cool things. And then we have some Moab trips coming up in June. And then as an ambassador, I'm going to be going on the Dolomites trip in August. And next year, Mont Blanc with AdventureWomen. So very excited for both of those. Everspace Camp is high on my list. I am I would love to see Everest. I don't ever want to go to the top, but to see it would be a pretty amazing thing to do. So, yeah.
Awesome. Little bit busy, that's all. Um, and I see any insights on the Costa Rica trip, Kathy. So I'm happy to help with this one as well. So this is a super inclusive adventure of ours. You definitely get a little bit of everything with this. So you're going to do kind of some floating, some rafting in it, waterfalls, really heavy into the national park piece, hiking around. It's a beautiful, beautiful experience. I almost a lot of people that I speak to have some interest in like botany, some background there, because it's just such a place that's just full of sights and sounds, and a little bit adventure with us. Some beautiful lodges along the way, and where our trip goes is definitely a little bit more off the beaten path. So you'll find a lot of companies, a lot of other trips go to different regions. Ours are specifically designed around shoulder season, for crowds, and then also for weather. And Costa Rica is super accessible, for flights, for everything, and we're here to support that. But that's definitely a popular one of ours for many reasons. And so we have space on that. So if you're interested, you can totally reach out, and find out some more information. But just kind of high level with it, it's a really special trip and experience of ours for sure. Let's see here. So any recommendations for what to do with gear that you test but doesn't work out? Is there a way to pass it along or recycle it?
Yeah, Michelle, if you were to get something like from REI, yeah, Audra just said it there. If you buy at REI, you can test things out and you can return them. It's amazing. So take the shoes, whatever, and go out. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I hate these, then you can take them back. If you're a member, you can do it up to a year, I believe. And if you're not a member, I think it's like 90 days or something like that. But either way, REI is awesome because of that. They let you try it. And if you don't like it, bring it back. Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome information to know. That's huge. Not many places do that. So great question.
Yeah.
And let's see what else we've got going on here. And I also included, that's my contact information, and then also my colleague in sales as well, Amanda. So sometimes I know things kind of hit later. When you take it all in, check out the website, look at the trips. And so here's our contact information. And this is all being recorded, so it will be sent out. So if there is anything that you feel like you want to go back and review, it's all here too. So and what do we have? Oh, Kathy, what is a kula cloth used for? Oh, looks like we've had it answered. That's exactly right. Where it's a replacement for some TP when you're out there. So that's what that is, and it's definitely like worth it. I know in Cuba it was a pretty popular item just for the lack of toilet paper accessibility, for lack of a better kind of phrase about it. So cool cloths definitely can come in handy, not just on these challenging trips, but also on our more moderate ones. So it can be destination based as well, as environmental. Yes, exactly. Leave no trace, Emily. Do I have a training plan for Southern Italy? Yes, I do. So I fell off a little bit of my exercise. And so I have kicked that back up. The trip is in September. We have space on that as well. So my plan is also to dive into hiking here. We're in Massachusetts, so there's definitely access to the outdoors. White Mountains, they're not too far away either. So my plan is to follow our plan. So get out there, exercise, both in my environment here around home, and then of course training with some day hikes and things like that. But I have some gear to test out as well. I have my old tried and true. So I'm going to stick with what works for me, what's comfortable, but also kind of test out some new stuff. But that's pretty much where I'm headed for it. Um, and what are the highlights? I think really the volcanoes are going to be really sick. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. Like Amalfi Coast is going to be beautiful, of course. This is a once in a lifetime feeling trip for me. I've been around a lot, but this is a region that I have not been to. So I'm really excited. So I think seeing the coast is going to be beautiful. It's going to be nice to tour around there. But I think as we make our way over to Sicily, just kind of seeing and experiencing that history in a totally different way, like living it, and climbing it is going to be amazing. So I'm really looking forward to that piece of that for sure. Let's see here. Can we brief Big Bend? Sure, I can help with this. And if you want to jump in, Mandy, as well, you totally can. But Big Bend is another one that has a little bit of everything. So you're going to have hiking. There's also like an observatory piece of it. So definitely stargazing is incredible there. You're going to have a float as well. So it's a little bit infusion of, you definitely have the physical piece of it, but you're going to have other experiences within and outside the park as well. Big Bend is a destination that's pretty hard to map out on your own and have access to. So one of the great things about our trip is that we just take that totally off your plate. So the guides there are incredible, and we are able to kind of set up things that aren't easy to have access to. So that's a great trip. We even have a lot of people from Texas that that do the Big Bend trip, just because it is kind of hard to access and plan on your own. So it's a beautiful trip. I think Big Bend's not on everybody's radar. So it's very cool. You kind of go through all different environments, and the trees, things like that. So it changes kind of as you go along, which is really cool. So it's definitely a trip worth looking at. Any of the national parks and things right now, I think are really important to visit, and Big Bend included for sure. Let's see. A trip that more seniors like to join. I think we have a breadth of things that's really hard to kind of put into context. I know we've had like a 90-year-old just crush the Camino. And so I think age is actually really just a number for us here. So again, it's about being prepared. So fitness level at like 70, 80, 90 could be better than a fitness level of a 20-year-old sometimes. And so it really is about the being prepared piece. But yeah, I think it's a hard question to answer, of kind of what trip leans towards more seniors, because our demographic is pretty much like higher 40s, lower 50s, all the way through the gamut, 70s. So it depends on your fitness level, but yeah, don't discount yourself at all. If you're just looking at the trip and thinking, no, I can't do it, that's why we're here today. So you can prepare, and then you can lean into us as well. Like if you start narrowing things down, absolutely reach out to us, and we can put you in touch with people who have done it, with ourselves to give that advice and kind of guide where you are, and where you want to be. So that's kind of where I'm at with that question. I don't know, Mandy, from your experience of leading trips here, you've probably seen it all too.
I've seen it all. I think we had an 80-year-old canyoneering down the canyon walls. So
Amazing.
age really is just a number. Like if you are comfortable enough, then man, like come out and do it.
Yeah,
Awesome. So yep.
awesome.
Yes.
Um, And then let's see. Can you talk about how the hiking groups are set up each day? If there's different speeds, some faster, some more relaxed. So maybe drawing on Utah or other trips for how that would kind of work with different groups, different speeds.
Yeah. I feel like every trip is going to be slightly unique in this. There's going to be some, depending on how many guides you have, like how big your group is, it can be a little more, relaxed or set up, depending on if you want it faster or relaxed. So, but either way, you're going to be fine, no matter how the guide sets that up. Sometimes if the guide sees a need, they might, um, have an alternate activity if someone maybe needed something like that. The guides are good about doing that really fast. And I think also, yes, there are going to be different speeds. Not everyone's going to hike fast. Not everyone's going to go slow. Um, and I think it kind of is a case by case basis. That's how I have felt in Zion, at least. Um, but I do feel like regardless, they know what they're doing. So and they'll make it comfortable for you, whether you're fast or you're slow. So for sure.
Right on. Let's see here. So a bit about the Dolomites in August. This is a great one, Emily. Oh, Emily, all right, she jumped in. So Emily has done this trip twice, as she says. So yeah, you could totally reach out for any information, like more specific questions about it. But we can totally vouch from personal experience here. And like Mandy said, she's taken it as well. But yeah, it's incredible. There's a lot of different elements to it. So we're happy to go over that with you. But yeah, Emily's the best kind of voucher.
Yeah,
Um,
she what she said, I can't wait to do it just because all the pictures
yeah.
and everything I've seen of the Dolomites, it looks absolutely amazing and looks like some pretty good elevation gain. So I will be training by hiking up the mountains near my house and back down.
Right on.
So yes.
Perfect. Let's see, as we wrap this up, any other last questions or thoughts? And again, this will be sent out, so you can totally review this whenever you'd like. Planning some new riding trips. All right. So I think we're good here. So again, thank you so much, Mandy. This was huge. This was such a help. And I hope everyone got something out of it. And again, like end of the day, do not discount yourself. We're here. It's about being prepared in every way. And that's what we're here for, to guide you in that experience and then to literally guide you once you're there. So anyway, thank you again all for coming. And do you have any final thoughts there, Mandy? And we'll send this out.
Yeah, no, just what you said, Ali, like if, I can't think of a better company to do something like this with. And I'm not trying to like hard sell Adventure Women at all, but
Totally.
they take care of you. And I think that's really important when you're doing a huge trip like this. And so get out there and sign up for a trip. And I've never had someone go on a trip where they go home and go, I wish I hadn't done it. Like, what a waste of money. Like, everyone is so happy with the trip they did. So get out, sign up for that trip, push yourself because that's what we should be doing. We should challenge ourselves and do hard things. So, yep.
Awesome. Best way to end this. All right, everyone. So yeah, reach out with any questions, but thank you so much for joining. And we couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Like I said, hopefully you've got some sunshine wherever you are, and if you don't, still get out and enjoy it. So we will talk soon. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, guys.